Hello. Today we are learning Lekutei Sichos Chelek Yud Aleph, Parshas Ki Sisa Sicha Aleph. This is a longer Sicha. It's made up of 3 parts. The first part is a Rashi Sicha. The second part is a defense, if you will, an extensive defense, both in Psutei Shel Mikra and in Halacha, on Aaron HaKohen for being involved with the Egel Hazav, which was an Isser, may have been an Isser of Avodah Zarah. And then there's a Yena Shel Torah, Al Pi Chassidus, a Hira, a lesson at the end, very, very beautifully woven in to the text, to the context of the Rashi. Because it's a longer Sicha, I'm going to try to learn a little bit faster, but hopefully not compromise on the quality. So we're on page 139 in the Sefer, Parshas Ki Sisa. The Parsha Seinu Besuper Shel Achrei She'amar Aaron LeBnei Yisrael Parku Nizmei Hazav V'Geimar V'Haviyu Elai V'Haviyu El Aaron, that after Aaron tells the Yidden, remove the golden jewelry, the nose rings, and bring them to me, and they brought them to Aaron, the pasuk says as follows: Vayigach miyadam, he took it from their hands. Vayotzar oisoi bacheret, which we're going to learn in Rashi in a moment what that means. Vayotzar oisoi bacheret, vayaseyu egel maseicha, and he made it into a molten calf. Pirush Rashi. So Rashi says, what does it mean vayotzar oisoi bacheret? Yesh letargum b'shnei panim. This could be translated, this could be explained in 2 ways. Ha'echad, the one, vayotzar loshen kshira. Vayotzar means he tied it. It comes from the term of tying. Bacheret lashon suder, and bacheret is like a kerchief or a scarf. Kemoi, and he brings 2 rayas. One pasuk is in Yeshaya, where it says v'hamitpeches v'acharitim, the kerchiefs and the scarves. And the second raya is from the pasuk in Melachim, v'yatzar kikrim kesef b'shnei charitim. He tied 2 kikar of silver in 2 scarves. V'habeis, the second taich is vayotzar lashon tsura. The lashon of comes from the word drawing or making a picture. Bacheret is kleumnus. The word bacheret is a kleumnus, is a tool, hatzerfin, that are used by the goldsmiths. Shechirtzin v'chirtin b'tzudos b'zahav. They engrave and they etch into the gold images with this cheret, with this tool. And Rashi brings an example: Ke'eit sefer hachayret eisius beluchos upinkasin, similar to the pen or the stylus, the tool that a scribe uses to write letters, to etch letters into the tablet or into a notebook or a writing board. K'moi, and he brings a pasuk, uksev alav b'cheret enosh, and write on it with the tool of the person, the etcher, the sketcher, the stylus of the person. The Zerush Tirgum Unkelus, and Rashi concludes with the Tirgum Unkelus. It was drawn, it was etched with a zifa. What is a zifa? Lashon ziyuf, who is source of the word, is from the word ziyuf, which means forgery. A zifa is a tool that is used to engrave, to etch into gold words or pictures. And you could forge seals or signatures with this tool. So this is the Rashi. Rashi brings 2 pirushim. One is vayotzar, means to tie. Bacheret is in a handkerchief. Another taich is vayotzar, is to draw, to etch. Bacheret, with a tool that etches into gold. And Rashi brings psukim to prove these different pshatim, plus a tirgum unkelus. Now we have 6 questions. For those of you who have been learning with us for a while, we'll be familiar with the premises of some of these questions, how the Rebbe learns a Rashi, and how these questions arise. Number 1, Alei Yadua Haklal Pirush Rashi Ala Teira Ki Meduber Kama Pa'amim De B'chol Makim Shu Eimer Beiza Yeser Pirushim Binyan Echad Hu Mipnei Shekol Echad Mea Pirushim Yeshel of Kushim Hash'ena Ba'asheni. It's known, the rule that we've learned in the past in Rashi Ala Teira, that when he brings 2 or more Pirushim on one concept, it's because each of them has a question or a difficulty that the other one doesn't have. Seemingly, each pirush is well built. There's a taich, there's a raya from a pasuk. It seems that each one fits in very well into the pasuk without any difficulties. What compels Rashi to bring two pirushim? The second question will be on the introduction of the number. Rashi brings these two pirushim by prefacing the words, Yesh letargumai b'shnei panim. This can be translated, explained in two ways. Atu minyana asu lashminan. Is he just giving me a number? What is the purpose of Rashi introducing the fact that this could be explained in two ways? Is it just for because he wants to say that it's two? Gimel, the third question is the terms ha'echad and hasheni, the one and the two. Halashon v'kayetze b'zeh ha'echad hasheni u'bilti ragel b'pirush Rashi ki'im k'mei shekasav teikef miyad v'yesh eminim davar acher. The next Rashi after this one, Dibra Maskel Egel Maseicha, Rashi brings two pirushim. He brings one, and for the second one he says v'yesh eminim. The second, the Rashi after that is Dibra Maskel Maseicha. He brings one pirush and then says davar acher. These terminologies, either v'yesh eminim or davar acher, are much more common in Rashi. To say ha'echad, the one, hasheni, the second, is unusual. So why does Rashi use that terminology? Daled, the fourth question is, why do we need two rayas on the first pirush? We brought two psukim, one from Malachim and one from Yeshaya, and the question is why the oidzes shemaviyim b'seider hafach, they are brought in an opposite order. First he brings the pasuk from Yeshaya, which is va'mitpaches va'acharitim, the kerchiefs and the scarves, and then he brings the raya from Melachim, which is vayatzar kikrim kesaf b'shnei charitim, that he tied two kikar of silver in two kerchiefs. Shaharei sefer Melachim muktim l'sefer Yeshaya. Melachim comes before Yeshaya. So why is the raya from Yeshaya brought before Melachim? Hey, fifth question. This is an interesting question. Raya zush maybe misifir neviim shacheret lashon suder umizeh shevayatzar lashon kshira. This raya that he's bringing from the neviim that leads up to tell me that vayatzar means to tie, should have been brought from the psukim in Chumash. Especially since we have already learnt them in Parshas Kisisa, where he already passed twice in Chumash, where he brings the word from the same shadish of Vayatzar, and it means to tie or to tie money. Number one, in Parshas Miketz, it says Tzirer Kasvei, the bundle of money that was tied together in a bundle. Upidish Rashi Kesher Kasvei, and Rashi teaches the bundle of money. Parshas Boy. And again in Parshas Boy it says when the Yidden left Mitzrayim, they left with their stuff, the things bundled up in their clothing. Rashi doesn't over there, doesn't even touch anything. He already said in Parshas Miketz that Shrureis means to bundle it together. So we know from both from Tzeder Kaspa and from Tzururis, which we don't even translate, because we know what it means, that Yatzar means to tie it together, to bundle it together. And in that case, why does Rashi over here, if he already has to bring a raya, why not bring the raya from the psukim instead of bringing it from psukim of Torah, instead of bringing it from the psukim of Nevi'im? Vav, the sixth and final question. Rashi, after teaching Vayatzar, that it means to etch, to draw, and Bacheret is a certain tool that is used by the goldsmiths, he then brings an example, Ke'et Sefer, like the pencil or the pen or the stylus of the scribe who writes in Amduchis Upinkasin. Then he brings a Tirgamunkulus. So the question is, why does Rashi Maidach over here? Why does Rashi elaborate like this? What is lacking in understanding it? For what do we need an extra explanation? After explaining already what it means, what is lacking that Rashi needs to explain more? Now that, and especially since Rashi the derech of Rashi is, the way style of Rashi is to go straight, explain the simple meaning of the pasuk without any elaboration. The kan maidich lahavi dugum sefer acheret. Here Rashi is elaborating to bring an example from the eighth sefer, from the pen of the scribe that engraves, that etches in, or lefarish tirgamunkulus, and to explain the tirgamunkulus shekozer lechaeding, studying which seemingly are side ideas that are now relevant to Pshuti Shel Mikra, and therefore the question is, why introduce them into this Rashi? So So the first answer we're going to answer is based through Hey. We're going to go through the Rashi and explain and answer all the questions. The first question we're going to answer is the fifth question: why are we not sufficing with the pasuk Tzreir Kaspe or Tzreir B'Sim Leisam, which are brought in the Chumash? So he says like this: Hatam Shirashi and maybe Rayim Psuki Chumash Anal. Those words have two reishas, either Tzreir Kaspe or Tzreir B'Sim Leisam. And is not a clear, explicit proof to our parsha, which only has the word Vayatzar with one reish. So therefore the psukim from Chumash are not going to work, and therefore we have to turn to the Tanakh, to the Nevi'im, to see if maybe over there's a pasuk that can help us understand what it means Vayatzar b'cheret. No. So we go first to Malachim because that's the first one in the order of the Svarim. But pasuk the Malachim we have Shalavi Raya Latevas Vayatzar. Shehu Lashon Kshira. We still Malachim is not enough for us to be able to use it as a raya, as a proof that Vayatzar means tying. Ki hasam gufei nechacha yesemeyacha shecharitim sudarim. Over there isn't any more proof than our pasuk that charitim means kerchiefs, something that is tieable. That we would learn from that Vayatzar means to tie. In other words, if you look at that pasuk, it says Vayatzar kikrim kesef v'shnei charitim. It's just like it says there Vayatzar b'cheret. We still don't know that Vayatzar means to tie, unless you would know that b'cheret means a kerchief, but that we don't know from the pasuk of Malachim. Therefore, Rashi gives us first the raya from Yeshaya. The mighty betachshitin over there is talking about jewelry. Charitim are similar to mitbechais. As we see their juxtaposition in the pasuk. So from this we know from the fact that mitbechais and charitim are next to each other in the pasuk. This tells me that charitim means sudarim, means kerchiefs. And this we know that vayatzar means something that's tieable, something that could be tied. Once we know that charitim means a kerchief, from there we could derive that vayatzar means to tie. So the first pasuk we bring is the pasuk of in Yeshaya that teaches us that charitim means kerchiefs. But this might not be a sufficient proof. Even though we've proven that charitim means charitim in the plural means kerchiefs, seemingly, cheret in our pasuk is not necessarily the single term for charitim in the plural, because v'rabim de cheret hu charatim. The rabim, the plural of cheret would be charatim. Reish kimutza with the comments in the reish, k'mei chesed chasodim, cherev charovais. In both cases, the second letter is a kamatz after having two segels in the lashon yachid. So just like chesed makes chasadim and cherev makes charavais, cheret makes charatim. So if I have charitim, which means sudarim, kerchiefs, doesn't mean that cheret means a sudar. So therefore I have no proof that vayatzar means to tie, because I don't know what cheret means. So therefore Rashi brings a second raya from Malachim, where over there it says that he tied 2 kikar of gold, of silver, into charitim. There you have, in the pasuk in Yeshaya, it didn't say vayatzar, it just said charitim. But here in the pasuk it says vayatzar and charitim. Shein sudarim, which we know from charitim that they are kerchiefs, because we already brought a pasuk va'mitpeches va'charitim, and now the fact that it says vayatzar near charitim, harei shevayatzar u'lashon kshira. So vayatzar could mean the lashon of tying. And from that we could derive the gam pasuk tidan pirush kain, that also in our pasuk it's the same meaning. The vayatzar means he tied, and the cheret means the kerchief. What's the difference between the pasuk vayatzar shnei kikrim b'shnei charitim and vayatzar b'cheret? Oh, you mizeh shebecheret shepasek didan shayich likshira. Sorry, mizeh shebecheret shepasek didan shayich likshira. V'akachach tzorich leimar shehu lashon sudar. So from here I could derive that if vayatza means to tie, then bacheret also means something that's tieable, and therefore bacheret could also mean a sudar, could mean a kerchief. We said that the Lashon Rabbim doesn't follow. Lashon Rabbim shelo yitzim min haklal. And the Lashon Rabbim, charitim, instead of charatim, is an exception. That we find many such exceptions. Isha, we don't say ishais. Bas, we don't say basim or basais. We say nashim or banos. So we see that not always does the Lashon Rabbim follow exactly the Reish Kemutza, the second letter having a kamatz, or even following exactly the way the Lashon Yachid sounds. Isha becomes nashim and Bas becomes banos. So too cheret can become charitim. But only after we follow this process. First we establish that charitim means kerchiefs. From the pasuk v'mitpeches v'charitim. Then from the fact that it says vayotza together with charitim, we establish that charitim is something that's tieable. So I now know that charitim means a kerchief because it's something that's tieable. And now I know that bacheret could also mean something because once we say vayotza by charitim, then the vayotza and the bacheret could also mean a tied in a kerchief. So this is the explanation of why Rashi brings two rayas, and why Rashi brings the raya from Yeshaya before the raya from Malachim. This is going to raise another question in the actual flow of the pasuk. Means that Aaron took the gold, placed it in the kerchief, and tied it together. Comes out that Aaron did not make the egel. All Aaron did was Aaron tied up the gold in the kerchief. And then when the pasuk continues, and he made it into a molten calf, it's not going on Aaron. Because it's referring either to the mechashvim, the magicians, the wizards of the Erev Rav that came in there with them Mitzrayim, or al Micha. The next Rashi of Egel Masecha brings two opinions of how the Egel became a Masecha. Either that the Erev Rav used kishuf, used magic, or Micha had a plate, a silver silver piece with the words Alei Shur that was written by Moshe Rabbeinu, and used that, threw it into the fire to make the egel. But basically, either way, Aaron is excluded from this. All Aaron did is put it in a kerchief. So the first half of the pasuk that he took it from their hands and put it into and tied it into a bundle in a kerchief is talking about Aaron. The sefer, which is written in the same third person, in the same, without saying clearly who it was, as in the Reisha, and he, whoever that he is, made it Egel Masecha, is not talking about Aaron. Might even be Mishuacher or someone else. Even though many psukim are written in shorthand, in short term, so without explaining who's doing it, it's very hard to explain in the very same pasuk, as it is in our case where it's coming one right after the other, that it's talking about in two different directions. That one, the first half of the pasuk is talking about Aaron, and the second half of the pasuk is talking about someone else. So it's hard to explain it that way. Loch in Pirush Rashi Pirush Sheni, and therefore Rashi comes with the second Pirush. Yotzer, the Yotzer means to draw, to etch. Becheret is a tool used by the goldsmiths where they etch or they engrave gold images into the gold. According to this, is also referring to Aaron. Aaron took the gold, and he drew images with a tool that draws images into gold, and he made the image of a calf. And that calf became the Egel Masecha. So it flows better in the pasuk that both the first half and the second half of the pasuk is talking about Aaron. But this also has a question. Here we're going to ask in the opposite direction. Later on in the pasuk, it says that Aaron is talking to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he's saying, "I threw it into the fire, and out came this calf." Rashi teaches, I had no idea that out would come a calf, and yet a calf came. Is mashma that Aaron did not make the egel. So even though in this pasuk the mashma says vayaseu egel masecha goes on Aaron that he made the egel, but in this other pasuk I didn't know it's going to come out. This mashma Aaron had nothing to do with it, at least with the egel part. Kitzer b'lesheni v'lechash hakasav l'arach b'chol pratei ha'inyin avo be'emes nasa ha'egel al yidei Aaron she'utzar tzurasei v'chulu. Even though you can answer this and say that the pasuk is just writing it in shorthand, but truly the egel was made by Aaron and he shaped it, he just didn't know that it would come out of the fire that way. Why is it a doichek? Because if you read it, what he's saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, the whole thing was a chiddush to Aaron. So therefore, because of that, we have a question. What happened over here? Aaron might have drawn into the gold pictures of an egel, but to say that the vayaseyu egel masecha goes on Aaron, that Aaron was the one who turned this into an egel masecha, when later on Aaron seems utterly surprised by the fact that an egel masecha came out of this little drawing that he made, doesn't flow properly. And this is why Rashi brings the first pirush. This is not asked a question at all. Aaron was surprised because Aaron had nothing to do with it. Aaron took a bundle of gold and threw it into a fire. That's all he did. He had nothing to do with the fact that a calf came out of it. So this answers our first question, why Rashi has to bring two pirushim. The first pirush is shver, is difficult because the pasuk doesn't flow properly. Therefore he brings a second pirush. The second pirush is difficult because the two psukim seem to be in contradiction. Did Aaron know or did he not know that he was involved in making a calf? So we've answered, basically so far we've answered question 1, question 4 and 5, why he brings two rayas, why Yeshaya before Malachim, why he brings from the Nevi'im and not from the Chumash. This will also answer question 2 and question 3. Why did Rashi introduce the pshat by saying I could explain it in 2 ways, and why does he use the term ha'echad and ha'sheni? When Rashi brings 1 or 2 or more pirushim, which we said earlier in the Sikha numerous times in the past. The reason why Rashi brings more than one pshat is because the pshat is lacking something. There's a question on it that gets answered with a second question, with a second pirush. We understand that whichever Rashi brings, what Rashi brings first, is the one that is the primary pshat that he's trying to bring, and flows better with the pshat. In other words, the question on the first pshat of Rashi is lighter, is not as severe as the one of the second pshat. That's how it usually would be. Rashi brings 2 pirushim, each one has a question, but he brings the smaller question, the better pshat, he brings first. It's possible that both pirushim that Rashi is bringing are equal, and one does not overpower the second one. But since physically it's only possible to write it one after the other, and one might make the mistake and think that the first one is first because it's primary, not just because you can only write one after the other. And therefore, in order to avoid this mistake, Rashi writes right in the beginning a term that is inclusive and presents both on an equal level. As in our case, that this pasuk could be explained in 2 ways, equal and the same. on the same level. And from this is understood that the order of the first and the second is not because one is more important than the other or more understood than the other, but just because it's impossible to bring one before the other. Key, just to explain a little bit better why they're both on the same equal footing. In our Rashi, we explained the question on the first part of Rashi is mashma that Aaron was the one who made the egel, and the way we tie to Rashi, it seems that Aaron was not the one who made the egel. Except that this question could be answered b'doichak. In other words, not so smoothly. That the pasuk was just writing in shorthand. It's the very same question that we asked on the second pirush. That from the flow of the psukim later on, it's masma that Aaron did not make the egel. And also this one could be answered, albeit not smoothly, but nevertheless could be answered that the pasuk is just writing the kitzer. Comes out that both pirushim are equal, both have the same type of question, and both have the same type of unsmooth answer that you would answer. This is the intention of Rashi when writing that this could be answered in two ways. He's trying to say to us that both are on the same level. And for the same reason, he uses the words echad and sheni. Besides the question of using the terms echad and sheni, numbering them, which is unusual, also if you translate the words, echad means one, hasheni means second. It would make more sense either to say one and two, or the first and the second. He should have said Ardishin Hasheni. It makes more sense in an organized numbering fashion. The first pirush, the second pirush. So why does Rashi not say Arishin Hasheni? Rashi wants to emphasize that there's no first, meaning to say more important pirush. There's one pirush. And there's another one, a second one, that is equal to the one from two equal pirushim. The difference between them is that they're two different ones, but not that they are on two different levels in their importance. So now we've answered question 2 and 3 of the pasuk of Rashi. Why Rashi says yes, because he wants to introduce that they are both the same level answers or explanations, and therefore he says ha'echad hasheni, to say that the first one is just one. It's not first, it's not better, it's just one, and then there's a second one that is equal to it. Now at this point in the Rashi, if we were sort of learning through the Rashi based on this Sikha, we're holding in the middle of Rashi, where we explained the fact that they're the first pshat. Then there's the second pshat, that vayatza means to draw or to etch, to engrave. Bacheret is a certain tool that is used by the goldsmiths in which they engrave images into the gold. But on this there's still a question. There's another time that the word Bacheret is found in Tanakh. Now this actually Rashi brings it in a moment. But before he gets a chance to bring it, one might say, 1 second. There's another time where it says, Uchsoiv alav b'cheret enosh. U'mi'achas mefurish uchsoiv alav b'cheret. It says the word uchsoiv to write. Hari mashma she'ein ze klei umnus she'chertzen v'cherten beitzureis bezav. It's not a tool that you engrave images into the gold. It seems more like a pen or a pencil with which you're writing letters. It says in the parentheses over here, according to the first pshat, cheret means a kerchief or a scarf. So we found rayas in psukim that's what it means over there. And clearly, Becheret Enesh, which is this pasuk, is clearly from a totally different shirish. אבל לפי פירוש הבייס, הרי דויכק לפרש שבחרת שלפנינו הוא שורש שלישי. But according to the third pshat, that cheret means a tool, the second pshat, that cheret means a tool that's used for engraving or for etching. So to say that the cheret over here is a third thing, different than the charitim which we brought in the previous psukim. And nor is it from the same cheret which is similar to it, because this is engraving, this is writing, is very difficult to say. So in other words, once you go to the fact that bacheret means a tool for etching, the question is raised, what about the pasuk that says it can be used for writing? And that's why Rashi is compelled to continue to explain. The cheret is not a specific tool that's being used to etch or to engrave. It's called a cheret because with it you are etching. Or harishima davar, or for that matter, any type of impression that is being done on another object. So just like the word cheret applies to the tool that you're using to etch images into the gold, you could also use the term cheret for a pencil, or I think there's another word, stylus, which is like a word, like it doesn't have lead at the end, but it has a point at the end with which you could press letters into a board or a tablet. So Rashi brings K'ma'ei Tasoifer to say that when they say cheret, I don't mean specifically an etcher. I mean anything that you could etch or make an impression with is called cheret because the charita that is being done with it. It could be a pencil, it could be a stylus, it could be an etcher. I don't know if that's really a word, but I'm going to use it for the sake of the context. Therefore Rashi also includes the word enosh. Because he wants to emphasize that any person, not just an uman, not just a craftsman, but even anybody who's writing can use a cheret. V'loshen Rashi, shem emesh, kol shehu, filu ein chacham. The word emesh is used on any human being, any man, any person could be used emesh, even if he's not a chacham. V'lo uman de le'el, and again, even if he's not a craftsman that knows how to etch beautiful images into gold, to metal, he could still use a cheret. That's why he uses the word enesh to say that it's for regular people too. So now we understand a little bit more of Rashi. Rashi is trying to explain to us what a cheret is. A cheret means any tool that's used for engraving, impressing, etching, even writing. I don't know if writing regular with regular pen or pencil, but writing that makes an impression would be called the tool used for it would be called a cheret. That's what Rashi says, to explain that we're not just talking about a kliyumnus. Since the cheret is not a common word, and we are a little bit confused a little bit in doubt about what it means. He mentioned earlier that there is even a thought to say that there's three different meanings to it. One, a handkerchief. Two, an etcher. And B and C, something that you write with, which we're saying not. And we're using one word to use a tool that is used for drawing a calf and a tool that is used for writing letters. Therefore Rashi brings another daya from Targum Onkelos, and he says, this tool is called zifa, originating from the term ziyuf, which means a forgery. A zifa is something a tool that is used to etch into gold letters and pictures. So Hainu, so kli amishamish hein liksiva shalesius, vehein lacharitza siyurim. This same tool is used for writing and for etching pictures. And now in the parentheses he says when Onkelos says, or when Rashi says, Shkedim here means pictures. Rashi himself says on the pasuk that it means drawn. There were images on the gviyim. Not like many people make the mistake and say that Rashi here when it says shkedim it means almonds. Because what's the relevance of almonds here? Shkedim means pictures. And therefore, Rashi brings the Targum Onkelos, which says the word zifa. And zifa means a tool that could be used for both for pictures and for tsiyurim and for letters, implying that this teaches us that this proof to Rashi that this bacheret could mean either or. And just to make sure that you know that becheret, bezifa is becheret, and it's the same thing. You shouldn't make a mistake and think that maybe becheret means something else entirely, and bezifa is a different tool. Therefore, Rashi says that you could forge signatures with it or seals with it. Therefore, it's called bezifa. That bezifa is named after the action that is done with it, which is the forgery. Just like the cheret is called a cheret not because it's the name of the tool, but because with it charita is done. Earlier, Rashi brought first the fact that you make pictures with it, and then that you could do letters with it. Then, by the Targum Onkelos, he brings first the letters and then the pictures. Because forgery is usually applicable in letters. When you have a name, a signature, you want to forge a signature, you say have to make fake letters or copy the letters. So forgery is more used when it comes to letters, and there's an emphasis here to bring the idea that they called zifa al shem haziyuf, because you want to bring out that the tool is named after what it's done with it, and not by just because that's what it's called. So this answers our question 6, why Rashi is mamshich keit sefer in the Targum Onkelos, because Rashi wants to explain exactly what a cheret is. A cheret is a tool that could be used for any type of etching or engraving, whether it's pictures, whether it's words, and he brings the Targum Onkelos to bring out the point that we see. Number one, in the Targum Onkelos, we see that the same tool is used for ACS and for pictures, and also the fact that he uses the word bezifa, which zifa is named after the action that is done with it, and not just the name of a sefer. But now, and now in Oishei, he's going to bring. So we're done with the Rashi. Meaning to say we've answered our questions on Rashi, but now he's going to bring in another question, and this question is going to be: how is it possible to say that Aaron HaKohen got involved in the Avodah Zarah? Aaron was a great holy person. He was a tzaddik. And this is at Behemshech, because earlier we were debating whether in the Hemshech HaKsuvim if Aaron is connected with the Avodah Zarah or not. But so even if we're going to, according to the second Pirush, that Aaron is the one who's connected with the Avodah Zarah, he drew images of an egel into the Zav, is going to raise a question, Vikum tes Aaron HaKohen? This is what we're going to try to answer in Oishei. The second Pirush, that Aaron was involved in the drawing of the pictures and the gold, is totally not understood. From the content of the Psukim, even according to Psukim Mikra, it's very clear that Aaron was very holy and very righteous. How is it possible to say that Aaron himself drew the image of a calf, which turned into a molten calf? Avodah Zarah, that Aaron was part of the process of Avodah Zarah. And therefore we're going to have to answer this question. We'll answer this question by asking another question. And this question is applicable on all the Yidden. How is it possible that any Yid, All of the Yidden, how did they get so sucked in to the Avodah Zarah? Says there's just a short time earlier. They stood in front of the Eibishter and by Har Sinai, and they heard the 10 Commandments, including the commandment of I am the Eibishter, your Eibishter, do not make any poured images. As Avodah Zarah, and they saw the kolos, the sounds coming from the four corners, from the four sides of the world, from heaven, from earth. So they saw major giluyim, major revelations. How is it possible to think, to consider that after all these revelations, they would even consider doing idolatry? Even though there was the fault of the Satan, where Rashi brings, he brought an image of darkness and confusion. According to one Medrash, it says that he showed an image of Moshe Rabbeinu in a bed, and it seemed that Moshe Rabbeinu had died, and it caused great darkness and confusion by the Yidden, and therefore they engaged in the Egel Azav. Adayim Kashem Eid Lavin. Still very hard to understand. That this should lead to such a deep descent. From such a high extreme to such a low extreme. Therefore, we must come to the conclusion, even according to Pshuti, according to the basic understanding of the Psukim, move on, this is not a question, it's understood by itself. The Rashi doesn't have to explain it. And the Sisa is not going to explain it and going to say that the Yidden were not trying to replace the Eibishter, they were trying to replace Moshe Rabbeinu. And they're trying to, if they're not replacing the Eibishter, then it's at least not Avodah Zarah. Before this, because of the people saw that Moshe was taking a while to come down, and therefore they came to Aaron and they said, "Asay lanu Elokim, make for us an Elokim." Because we don't know what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu. They weren't requesting from Aaron to make an Avodah Zarah, to make an idol, something that would take the place of Hashem, chas v'shalom. They wanted something to replace Moshe. And therefore they explained it in their reasoning. That Moshe has been delayed from coming off the mountain. The fact that they use the term Elikim, make for us an Elikim, they right away explained, they weren't looking for something, an Elikim on a divine level, on a godly thing, a godly level. They wanted an Elikim that will go before us in the place of Moshe. Because this man Moshe, we don't know what happened to Moshe. Rashi explains, this Moshe who took us out of Mitzrayim, and was showing us the way that we're supposed to go up to Eretz Yisrael. Now that we can't find this Moshe, we need a leader that's going to walk before us. When they use the term Elikim, which very often has a divine connotation, that's not what they meant over here. Similar to what it says in the pasuk in Shemois, you will be for him for Elikim. And Rashi says l'rav u'l'sar, someone who's in charge of him, someone who's his teacher or his master. Like the Eibishter told Moshe Rabbeinu, I have made you into an Elikim for Pharaoh, your Pirish Rashi, Shefet v'reida, a judge and a ruler. So therefore, what Elikim over here doesn't mean divine. The Yidden weren't trying to replace the Eibishter. They were trying to replace Moshe Rabbeinu. They needed someone to lead them through the Midbar to Eretz Yisrael. And therefore they were not trying, there wasn't really an Inyan of Avodah Zarah. Some of them got carried away with the Chet Egel. They considered the Egel, they considered the calf as an Avodah Zarah, as an idol. And those were the ones who were punished with the consequence of death. But that wasn't how they started out. They started out looking for a replacement for Moshe. ואף שלכן גם בזה יש את מי הכנעל, איך אמרו שהעגל יהיה למר ודרך ושר כמשה. איש האליקים, שלוב נאמר, עניכם ובנווי בניכם. And if you're going to ask that, it still doesn't answer the question. Because after all, they were still looking for something to replace Moshe. And Moshe is Ish Elikim, a godly person, a man of God, and he's the person that it says, I stand between you and the Eibishter. So how could they even ask to replace Moshe Rabbeinu? And he's going to answer that question by saying that the concept of a mamutza, the concept of an intermediary that would connect the Yidden and the Eibishter, was not yet upgefrekt, was not yet out of the question at this point in time. Now you can't compare wanting Moshe as a replacement for Moshe to wanting a replacement for Hashem. Here there is room to make this mistake. When the Eibishter commanded Yidden to make a Mishkan, whose purpose was a place for the Eibishter Shechina to dwell, to rest amongst the Yidden, as the Pasuk says, make for me a Mikdash and I will dwell among them. Where was the main area, the main space in the Mishkan where there was the Ashras HaShechina? It was the Aron and the Kruvim above it. The Pasuk says, I will speak to you above the kaperes, from between the two kruvim that are on the Aron. So yes, the damois, yes, lidmois, the kruvim came a mutza ben Yisrael HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Here we could imagine that the kruvim were a mutza, an intermediary between the Yidden and the Eibishter. And therefore the voice of Hashem, the words of Hashem, came to the Yidden through the kruvim. Especially according to the pasuk that it said in Parshas Yisro, do not make before me a god of silver or a god of gold. Rashi tells that this teaches us that we're not allowed to make kruvim. Rashi says even more. A person shouldn't think, I want to make kruvim in my shul or in my base medrash, just like it was made in the base hamikdash. Therefore says the Sisa that you're not allowed to make kruvim in a shul or a base medrash. Why would a person think that he wants to make a kruvim? He wants to make a kruvim in a shul or in a base medrash, like it was in the base mikdash. So that the pasuk has to give us a special iser to prohibit making a lekei kesef and lekei zav, meaning the kruvim are not allowed to make kruvim in a shul. But if we're saying that the kruvim were a person could think that the kruvim are a mamutza, an intermediary that's connecting the Yidden to Eibishter, it's understood. A person could think that the kruvim served as an intermediary between the Yidden and the Eibishter. A person should think, I want to have this intermediary also in my shul. And therefore comes the pasuk to forbid the making of the kruvim. Bringing it back here to the story of the Egel, which is before the commandment of Lisasu Lachem, before the Eibishter prohibited making the kruvim. Even though in Parshas Yisro, right after Matan Torah, we find this pasuk Moshe did not yet come back from the mountain. This is exactly the point. Moshe was delayed on the mountain. Moshe did not give them over the sivu of Lisasun Iti. Therefore, so they did not know from the Isser, they did not know that it was prohibited to make a mamutza of Zav. And the fact that they were in the Kachay Kachim implies that how great and important they were. And therefore the Yidden wanted to make an Egel similar to the Kruvim in the Kedesh HaKadoshim. And that's why the Yidden were able to come to fall to such a low down place where they made an Egel Azav, because they started out wanting just a Memutza. This too answers the question how Aaron came to make the egel, because it's the same answer. Aaron wasn't trying to get involved in the Avodah Zarah. They were just trying to create something that would take the place of Moshe Rabbeinu. In Order 39, he points out that even though the Yidden had not yet been told to build the Mishkan and the Kruvim, so how did they know the whole concept of Memutza? So he brings, and he says that the Pashtos, the Yidden knew that the Kruvim were coming. They knew the Aron was coming, they knew the Kruvim was coming. And he brings a few points. First of all, from the fact that we don't find a surprise by the Yidden when the Eibusha tells them to make the Kruvim. So obviously this implies that they were expecting it. Number two, the Tzivui of Leisasun comes before the Tzivui of the Kruvim. Now, if the whole tzivui of Leisaston is to not make kruvim, then obviously they knew before the kruvim that they were told to make the kruvim, that the kruvim were coming, because otherwise it wouldn't have to say Leisaston. And number three, we already know from an earlier Rashi that Yaakov told the Yidden to take. Yaakov planted Arozim in Mitzrayim and told the Yidden to take with him Atzei Shittim, because he told them that there was going to be a Mishkan. So obviously the Yidden knew that there was going to be a Mishkan, and included in that could be that they knew that there was going to be kruvim. Eis Vav is just a supplement, if you will, to what we just said over here about the answer to the question how the Yidden and Aaron came to make us an egel, because they were trying to make a memutza. The Charemez, just like if we could learn a remez. Remez means a hint. You could say that this is hinted in what Rashi says. Rashi brings the pasuk that in the word enosh there is a hint to this explanation that we just had in understanding how they went ahead to make an egel azav. The Rambam explains in the beginning of Hilchas Avodah Zarah. The Rambam explains how did the whole concept of idolatry begin. He says like this: B'mei Enosh, Tohu b'nei Adam, Tohu is Gadol, the Enosh Azmei min HaToyimaya. And in the days of Enosh, and Enosh himself was one of the people made a big mistake. V'zehu hayu te'usum, and what was the mistake? Amru hayil v'alekim barak echav meilu v'galgalim l'hanagas eilam. Since the Eibusha created the stars and the galaxies to run the world, they are worthy of being praised and being given extra kavod, thinking that the more we praise them and the more we give them kavod, the more shefa they'll give to the world, the more light, or the more they will give to the world. They thought that they were an intermediary that has a choice, that they can give more, they can give less. Even though the truth of the matter is, they're just like an axe in the hand of the chopper that does not have any of his own will, of his own choice. He just used by the wood chopper to get swung against the wood and chop the wood. But nevertheless, they thought that they have bchira, and if they have bchira, the more we praise them, the more we'll get. The same thing is what happened in our case, in the case of the egel. They wanted to make the egel into a mutza. They certainly knew that this was a solid gold. This was not something that had bchira, just like the kruvim had no bchira. But nevertheless, what they wanted to do was make him a mutza. In other words, the comparison is not exactly the same, because in times of Enosh they thought the chavim megalgalim had bchira. Here, everyone knew that they didn't have bchira, but nevertheless, the toast over there was that they were a memutza. And here they also wanted a memutza. And this led to the chet of Yisrael in some of the Yidden. All of a sudden they thought that the memutza has bchira, and they started worshipping it like a god. And therefore you could say that Rashi is hinting in the word enosh that the sin over here is similar to the sin of Enes V'Deireh, where they started out just with a memutza and then it evolved into Avodah Zarah. So now we have answered the question of Pipsuda Shel Mikra. How did Aaron get involved with this Egel Azov? Because it wasn't an Inyan of Avodah Zarah, this was an Inyan of wanting a replacement for Moshe, and it's not such a terrible thing because wanting a memutza at this point in time is not so terrible, because we even find that there was a memutza in the Beis Hamikdash, namely the Kruvim, and Yidden wanted to do a replica of the Kruvim, not a replica of, but the replicate idea of the Kruvim, with having an Egel Azov as a memutza. Now we're going to go to another section of the Sikha. In a certain sense, it's another section, and discuss al pi halacha what is the defense for Aaron for engaging in something that is connected to Avodah Zarah. And the first thing the Rabbi is going to explain here is the concept of ein adam oiser davar she'ein shaloi. That al pi halacha, a person cannot cannot make something aser, make something prohibited if it doesn't belong to him. And therefore, since the gold did not belong to Aaron, he could not make it aser. Therefore, he could not make it into an Avodah Zarah. And what he did was not Avodah Zarah. That's the first thing that the Rebbe is going to explain in Ois Zayin. Now we can also answer this question. How is it possible that Aaron should be over on an Israel Avodah Zarah? We could answer this question also according to halacha. We'll explain it as follows. We find it explicitly in the pasuk. Aaron said to them, remove, take off, unburden yourself of your golden nose rings, and bring it to me. He made sure to say, bring it to me, but not that they should give it to him. He expressed his thought, he expressed his feeling that he does not want to acquire the gold. Therefore we understand that he didn't buy it, he didn't acquire it, because it's not possible for someone to acquire something against his will. Especially since the Yidden said to him explicitly, make for us an Alekim, make for us a God, or as we said earlier in the Sikha, make for us a memutza. When they said lanu, they said make it for us, so Aaron didn't own the gold, the Yidden wanted it to be for them, so therefore obviously the gold remained under the ownership of the Yidden when Aaron was making the egel. There's a klal in halacha, that a person can't aser, cannot prohibit something that is not his. For example, if a person goes into someone else's field and bows down to another person's animal, that animal doesn't become aser because it's not his to aser. Therefore, Aaron's actions did not prohibit the zav to make it into an avodah zarah. Therefore, Aaron was not over on the iser of avodah zarah. So, al pi halacha, we can answer this question very simply: that when Aaron did whatever he did, it wasn't actually an Isser of Avodah Zarah, because it wasn't his to be over the Isser. You may notice that there's many ha'aris here, and there's a lot in Nigla. There's a lot of discussion, and this is a concept that could be delved into very, very deeply. I'm going to sort of stay away from it and stay with the text of the Sikha. There is actually a shir in the in-depth section of the website where Rabbi Silverberg from Chicago delves into many of these topics, and if you are able to and you would like to, it is recommended if you want to delve deeper into these topics. But here we're going to stay, on the basic understanding of the text of the Sikha, and where the explanation is that the halacha is ein adam oiser davar she'ein shaloi, and therefore Aaron was not ever an Isser. Seems simple enough, but it's never always that simple. Never only that simple. We're going to have a question on this approach. The question is going to be that even though it says ein adam oiser davar she'ein shaloi, But this only applies in a case where the owner doesn't want the Isser. But if the owner wants the Isser, then the person could cause that object to become Aser. And we're going to see that the Yidden wanted Avodah Zarah. And in order to explain this, we're going to bring in a Gemara from Masechta Avodah Zarah. We're going to ask a question on this approach of in application to Aaron HaKohen. The Gemara says like this: that the Torah says that you have to burn down the Asherah trees. The Asherah trees are trees that were used for Avodah Zarah by the Goyim before the Yidden came to Eretz Yisrael. And when they conquered Eretz Yisrael, they had to get rid of all the Avodah Zarah and all the objects that were used for Avodah Zarah in Eretz Yisrael. And the Asherah trees had to be burned. So the Gemara says, Yerushi me'aviseyem inon me'esadav she'en shaloi. And just Rashi explains, Eretz Yisrael, and everything that is part of it, so anything that's connected to the ground, namely the trees, are a Yerusha to the Yidden, to the Jewish people. From their avos, from the fact that the Eibishter promised to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Eretz Yisrael, the Goyim shebo lachanei came, the nations that came after the Eibishter promised Eretz Yisrael to the avos. Cannot aser the trees by bowing down to them. So why do they have to burn them if the Goyim cannot be aser davar she'en shaloi, and the trees belong to the Yidden as the Yerusha from the avos? Why do they have to burn the trees down? Ella, says the Gemara, once the Yidden worshipped the Egel, the Yidden revealed, they showed that they were acceptable, that they were amenable to Avodah Zarah. And now when the other nations came, the Goyim were worshipping the trees, were doing the shlichus, were doing this in agency of the Yidden who own the trees. Maybe the only time they were acceptable to Avodah Zarah was in the case of the Egel, but not in any other case. And for the Gemara, Omar Kara, Eila Elikecha Yisrael, when the Pasuk says that they danced around the Egel Azav and they said, these are your gods, in the plural. Yisrael, this teaches us that they desired many gods. And therefore, even though they didn't worship the trees, but the Goyim who worshiped the trees were acting b'shlichus of the Yidden, and therefore the trees became aser by the act of the Goyim who worshipped it, even though it was Einei Shaloi, and therefore they had to be burnt. Once they expressed that they were acceptable to Avodah Zarah, it is perfectly acceptable, perfectly possible for someone who doesn't own what they have to make it aser as Avodah Zarah. So Arden was also aser the gold as Avodah Zarah, even though it wasn't his. Even though it was before they said the words Eile Elikecha. The Amida, the words are just a revelation, a confirmation of what was being done earlier. But earlier already they said to Aaron, okay, make for us a getchke, make for us then we said it's a mamutza. But they already were desiring Avodah Zarah, and therefore they wanted this to be an Avodah Zarah. And therefore when Aaron HaKohen made this Egel Azav, even though it didn't belong to him, but they were nichelu, they were accepting of it, and therefore he's Eiser Davar She'en Shaloi, and therefore it was Avodah Zarah. Seems like a very strong question. A whole foundation of Eiser Davar She'en Shaloi is not applicable here, because the owners were accepting it. So So this will be understood by first prefacing what there a different halacha in Rambam. Not different, a halacha in Rambam. Yisrael shezakaf levein l'shtach leizla, a yid that stands up a brick to bow down to it, v'lo yishtach v'la, and didn't bow down to it. Uba akum v'ishtach v'la, and then it came a guy and bowed down to it. Asra b'hana, the guy asad b'hana, he prohibited b'hana from having any benefit, deriving any benefit from it, even though it's eino shaloi, it's not his, shez kifasa maisa, because by standing it up, he made a maisa. In other words, in the Gemara, it discusses that by making a maisa, the yid started something here. He started the process by making a maisa, by doing something with it, and therefore what the akum did was a hemshech to what the guy did, a continuation to what the yid did, and therefore it's aser b'hana. But it's not understood why the Rambam brings in this idea that by picking it up, he made a maisa. The mocker of the Rambam is in the Gemara. Because the Gemara says that why does it become Asr Ba'na? When the Yid picked up the brick, he revealed his feeling on this, that he's acceptable to Avodah Zarah. He was about to do it, or he's considering to do it, or he's preparing it for someone else. Then when the guy comes and worships it, he's doing the shlichus of the Yid. Meaning to say, the skifa helps because of what the Yid revealed by doing so. Why does the Rambam bring the fact that the picking up the brick is the maisa? Svara zu ki dai begilu das lechud hu ikir achidus l'skaras hagemara. This svara that all you need is gilui das, all you need is the fact that the person, the owner, should express willingness to go along with this. That's the whole chiddush of that gemara. In the original approach of the Gemara, that the possibility to make it Avodah Zarah is dependent on if there was an involvement of the human hand in it. Oh, so it's a shaykh leading a maisa. Then the maisa would be relevant. That by making a maisa in it, by picking it up, you made a maisa in it, which means it has a tfisa sidei adam, it has the involvement of the human hand, and therefore it can become aser. Over there in the Gemara is saying that if a person bows down to a mountain, so it does not become aser. Because a mountain is something that's natural, and there's no human involvement in the creating of it. A person goes and chisels out a rock, takes out a piece from a mountain, and then puts it aside and worships it, it becomes an Avodah Zarah. So when I ask the question, what happens if a piece fell off of the tree, fell off of the rock? A piece of rock fell off of the mountain. So the question is, do you say that it's still part that since no human being chiseled it out, it's considered that no human hand was involved, or once it's separated from the rock, from the main mountain, it's considered something separate, and it's still if someone worships it, it's still Avodah Zarah. So that's the discussion in the Gemara over there. Comes the Gemara later on, bringing this whole idea of midapolchu Yisrael le'egel, that once the Yidden worship the egel, golu datayu denichulu, that the Yidden proved, the Yidden expressed, they showed that they were acceptable to Avodah Zarah. And by saying this, the Gemara is being mechadis that you don't need a maisa, you don't need tfisa sidei adam. All you need is gilui das. And the Maskanas Gemara is when the person picks up the brick, that's the Gilui Das that is Nichalei, and therefore it becomes Aser. It's not because of something that was done in there. So therefore the question on the Rambam is, where does the Rambam take it from to say that you need a Maisa? And that the picking up of the brick was a Maisa, and that's what causes the Isser when the guy comes to worship it. The source of the Rambam is in that very same Gemara. The lashon of the Gemara is midapolchu Yisrael le'egel. Once they worshipped the Egel, they revealed their thoughts that they were acceptable to Avodah Zarah. If you would say that just Gilui Das, just expressing themselves on this matter would be sufficient, there's no greater Gilui Das from the fact that when they went to Aaron and they said, make for us an Alikim. Why did he going to have to say that only once they worshipped it will the daik shebazeh go at the daik nichalu b'Avodah Zarah, and to emphasize the dafka here, once they were pochel, once they worshipped it, that was their expression of acceptance. So from this the Rambam proves that Gilui Das is good. But how do I know that the Gilui Das works? Through the Maisa. It's not enough any other Gilui Das. Not like we said before that the Gilui Das reveals what the person was thinking before that. No, the person has to make a Maisa in order for us to know what he's thinking. Only once they worshipped it in actuality. This helps for this helps for them to reveal the fact that they're accepting of Avodah Zarah. Umasha Messiah Sham B'Gemara. Now which the Gemara says that once they said this is how they revealed that they were accepting of other Avodah Zarahs. I'm not trying to say that by saying that that's where the Gilui Das came from, because we just said that saying something is not enough of a Gilui Das, there has to be a Maisa. By saying this, they explained what their intention was in the Maisa when they actually worshipped the Egel. When they worshipped the Egel, they were accepting not just the Egel, but any types of Avodah Zarah. But where do we know that the Yidden were Nichol of Avodah Zarah is from the actual Pochel and not from anything that they said before or after? That's why the Rambam emphasizes that when the Yid picked up the brick to bow down to it, the picking up the brick made a Maisa. He means to say that was the Maisa that was Megala, his Das, the Nichalei. We still have to get back to Aaron HaKohen and how this applies to Aaron. But we're going to introduce one more shtikul Gemara that'll be understood based on this new understanding that Gilui Das, that when a person to express the fact that he's accepting of something of Avodah Zarah has to come through a Maisa, through an action that he does. It's not enough for him to say it. I want you to do this for me. So there's another shtikul Gemara there that will be also explained a little bit better based on this understanding of the Rambam in the Gemara that Gilui Das has to come together with a Maisa. This will explain another thing that needs explanation. Gemara asks a question: what happens if a person, instead of picking up a brick, he picked up an egg? Then he didn't actually bow down to it. And then it came a guy and he bowed down to this egg. Is it aser or not? Do I say Leveni Diminkin is Kifasa, that a Levena is very obvious that you're picking it up? It's wider than it is thick. When you pick it up, it seems tall. So therefore it's obvious, it's very clear what you're doing, you're picking it up. But an egg, even if you do pick it up, it's very short, it's very small, and you can't really see that it's picked up. And therefore you would say that no, there's no Maisa there. Or else you can say it doesn't matter. Once he did something to it, it doesn't matter if it's big or small. If the whole emphasis here is Gilui Das, all you want to know is what's the person thinking. So who cares if you could tell that it was picked up or not? Once he picks up the egg, we know that he's accepting of Avodah Zarah. So why does Gemara ask about the Beitza? The Gilui Das is there. The Achreinim ask even more. They're even saying the words Eila Lekecha Yisrael is enough of an expression of Nichalu that they were accepting of Avodah Zarah. So for sure, if he did something, even if it's an egg, which is not so obvious that he picked it up, it should certainly more than words. So why is the Gemara even asking the question? But according to what we just said, that you have to have a ma'isa, this question of the Gemara will flow very smoothly. The Gemara's question is, once we accept this rule, that the Gilui Das has to include a ma'isa, an action, we have to ask the question, if you can't tell that it was picked up, so it's only a ma'isa zuta, it's only a small action, a minimal action, is it considered a ma'isa that helps us to know what he's thinking or not? It's obvious that you could differentiate between a full-fledged ma'isa, an obvious ma'isa, and a small ma'isa. So therefore the question is, by the Beitza, if a person picks up the Beitza, do I say that a Maisa Zuta, a small Maisa, is enough? Or you need to have a Maisa Rabbi, you need to have a full-fledged Maisa in order for it to be a sufficient Gilui Das, a sufficient expression of the person's feelings on Avodah Zarah. You can't learn from Eila Lekecha Yisrael because over there was a Maisa. Together with the Eila Lekecha Yisrael, they were dancing, they were worshiping the Egel. But what happens if there's no Maisa, only the Maisa Zutta, only the picking up of the egg? It's a good question. Is it a Maisa? Is it a good enough Maisa to go together with to create a Gilui Das or not? Now that Gemara is understood as well. And now we'll go back to Aaron HaKohen. Al Pisa the Dafka Gilui Das shall Yedei Maisa Echad. Now that we said that the Gilui Das has to be together with a Maisa that gives the other person the ability to be aser, to forbid something, to make it forbidden, something that is not his, this will now flow very beautifully in the case of Aaron HaKohen. Because mitzad adin, Aaron could not aser, could not forbid the egel, the gold that was being used for the egel, because it wasn't his. It was nichalu. The other Yidden were ready to make an Avodah Zarah. But when Aaron HaKohen was making the egel, the Yidden had not yet worshipped the egel, so therefore there was no ma'isa. Ubeloi ma'isa ein nagilui das greida. Maspik, so yuchal lesser davar sheinish aloi. And without a Maisa, it's not a sufficient Gilui Das, and therefore we don't know really al pi halacha what the Yidden wanted at the time, and therefore if there's no Gilui Das, then Aaron could not be Eiser davar sheinish aloi. And the Gourarie, he brings the question that the Yidden, they brought the Nizmei Zav, they brought the jewelry, they brought the gold. So why is that not considered a Maisa? So the Rebbe answers in the Gourarie. The Rebbe answers, number one, he says that clearly it's not considered a good enough Maisa because the Gemara doesn't say that mid the Heviu Yisrael Shma min adenichale. The Gemara says mid the Polchu Yisrael le'egel. So it implies that even the Gemara feels that the bringing of the gold is not enough of a Maisa. But there's something more than that. Many Yidden brought gold, even Yidden that weren't interested in the Egel Hazav. So bringing the gold alone is not a Gilui Das, because there were many people who brought the Zav and did not intend for it to become an Egel. You don't know just because they're bringing the zav doesn't mean that they want an egel. Could be they wanted a memutza. Could be they wanted something else. Could be they wanted to wait until the next day and make a chag l'Hashem acha. We don't know exactly what was in the intention of the person every single person who brought the zav. Only after they served the egel do we know what their intention was. Do we know what their intention was? At least the ones who actually the Erev Rav, etc. So now we have a halachic defense for Aaron HaKohen that ain't other Moshe Davar Shein Shalei. Either was a Gilui Das, the Gilui Das was without a Maisa, and therefore it's not a sufficient Gilui Das. We could take it a step further. And this he brings another Rambam. And this Rambam is Nilchas Shchita. And the Rambam says that if you have two people that are shechting an animal together, and one of them has a kavanah in the Shchita that would answer the Shchita. So he says, the Rambam says that that he can't answer it if he doesn't own. If the person who's trying to answer the shchita doesn't own the animal, he can't answer it. Why? Says the Rambam, because we don't believe him that he wanted to answer it. We're just thinking that afterwards he's saying it to be mitzayir the person, to cause pain to the owner. So he's telling him, I asked it for you. But we don't even believe him that he wanted to answer it in the moment. The Fib Sakaram Adam Yisrael is the Shein Kavanah say on the side. The Rambam says within Shchita that a Yid cannot answer something that's not his, because he's only saying that he wanted to answer it because he wanted to be mitzayir him, he wanted to give him pain, but he didn't. But in truth, he wasn't even intending to make it aser. Yesh lema shelo gam gilui das. We could say based on this that even Gilui Das doesn't help. That we could say that the Gilui Das is telling us that the person wants to be mastered. Gilui Das helps that whoever owns it, he could be Megala Das, that he wanted it to be Aser. So if someone else comes to Aser it will become Aser. But if the person himself who's asering it did not really intend to aser it, then the Gilui Das of the owner makes no difference. Only if the person who wants to aser it really wanted to aser it, then the Gilui Das that the other person who owns it also wants to aser works. But if the person who owns it wants it to be aser, but the person who's making it doesn't want it to be aser, then if then nothing would happen. So if we apply this to our case, certainly the Gilui Das, even together with the Maisa, the Gilui Das of the Yidden that they were ready to accept the Avodah Zarah would not help to make the Egel gold prohibited by Aaron. Aaron himself did not intend to make an Isser. He clearly said that he was preparing this for a celebration La Hashem, for the Eibusher the next day. So if Aaron was not Niskavin La Aser, then even if the Yidden wanted it to be Avodah Zarah, Aaron had no intention to make it Avodah Zarah. So therefore, he can't aser something that's not his, even with the Gilui Das, if he himself is not Niskavin to make it aser. The Neisiv L'Chalon now had a minute and did down lower Gilui Das mefarish the Nicholu be'egel kedem shapochu. And in addition to all this, we go back to what we said originally when we get to the fact that when they said Aselanu Elikim, it was because they were missing Moshe. So besides the fact that Elikim could be touched, that it doesn't even mean an idol. Here's another word. The whole reason they said Asilanu Elikim was based on a false premise. It was based on the fact that they thought that Moshe went missing. It's almost like a condition. Had they known what happened to Moshe, the whole Gilui Das that they wanted in Egel was based on a false premise that Moshe went missing. Had they known where Moshe was, they would have never wanted an Egel in the first place. So, in addition to the fact that we said in Oy Zayin that the Gilui Das doesn't help, because there was no Maisa that went along with the Gilui Das, and therefore when Aaron made the Egel, he could not be Eisa Davar Shein Shaloi. There's another point. Aaron was never Niskaven La'Yisra. Aaron never intended to aser this. So even if the Yidden wanted it to become Asr, if Aaron doesn't want to make it Asr, his actions can't make it Asr. And on top of that, the fact that the Yidden wanted Avodah Zarah was only because they didn't know where Moshe was. The whole Gilui Das, even if it was with the Ma'isa, was on a false premise. The Signin Acher, a Signin Acher that really goes back to the first half of Eisches, in other words, to say what we're saying in Eisches, first half, but in a different style of words. The reason that becomes Asr, in the Gemara said that the owner is Megala Das. The owner reveals his feelings on the matter, that he's ready to accept Avodah Zarah. And then when the guy goes and is Avodah Zarah, Shlichus Ikavad, he's doing the shlichus of the Yid who owns it. Upshita, the Adam the Kibbutz Alatzah Shlich Kazu. The Yidden are the owners; they own the gold. And if you were to say that it become Asr, it's because Aaron is working as a shliach of the Yid. Clearly, Aaron did not accept upon himself a shliach, accept upon himself the shlichus of Avodah Zarah. It's not the question. So therefore, if Aaron is not acting in shlichus of the Yidden, then even if the Yidden want Avodah Zarah, Aaron is not making an Avodah Zarah, and therefore he can't asr it. And if he can't asr it, because it's not his intention, then it's not Avodah Zarah. And this exempts Aaron, so to speak. This is a defense of Aaron, al pi halacha, of why there was no issue of Avodah Zarah and what he had done. Ace Tess. Tess is going to ask another question, a smaller question, and is going to answer it, but a weak answer. So it's taka emes that in full-fledged version Aaron had no shaychus Avodah Zarah, but a little bit there was a shaychus. Even though he himself did not make Avodah Zarah, nevertheless, because of him, many Yidden stumbled or slipped and committed the Isra of Avodah Zarah. And Aaron was over on the lav of Lifnei Iver, that because of an action that he did, he caused the blind to stumble. He caused these Yidden to do this Avodah Zarah. Especially according to the Deya, that Isra of Lifnei Iver is not a general Isra. It's a detail in the Isra of which you are causing your friend to fall. For example, if a person causes another Yid to do Gneva, then the person who caused it is over on Isra Gneva. So if a person causes a Yid to be over on Avodah Zarah, then he also is over on Avodah Zarah. So at least in the detail of Avodah Zarah. So if Aaron was over on Lifnei Iver, and because of him the Yidden were over Avodah Zarah, so Aaron is still over on some detail of Avodah Zarah. I'll tell you this, so the Chayr is there, it's Pashat. Al Isr Lifnei Iver, Lissit Michshael, Nitztavu B'nei Yisrael, Parshas Gdeshim, Zmanav Lachar Ma'aseh Egel. Lifnei Iver is something that came much later. At least Moshe has to come down from Har Sinai to give them the details of the mitzvahs. Therefore, and during the time of the Egel, there was no Israel Lifnei Iver, and therefore Aaron is not over on Lifnei Iver. So we're going to end with a question. That's why I said it's a weak answer, because we're going to end with a question on this answer. Number one, when Moshe goes to Aaron, he says, what did this nation do to you that you brought upon them such a great sin? Is Masman and Moshe has a taina on Aaron that he caused the Yidden to sin with Avodah Zarah. So even whether he was able to lift the wasn't able to lift the you still see that Moshe had a taina on Aaron HaKohen that he caused Avodah Zarah to the rest of the Yidden. Also from the fact that Chur was mechiach the Yidden, so much so that he was killed for it, and Aaron was not mechiach them, implies that Aaron does take some of the fault for it. came, Hari b'morin itztavu al adinim, ubifrat Aaron, Allah v'chur Amar Moshe Ked Manis Lahar Mi Bal Dvarim Yigash Alayim. Also in Mara the Yidden were commanded on many dinim, possibly including Lifnei Iver, especially Aaron and Chur, which it says on the Mi Bal Dvarim Yigash Alayim that they were taught many things before Har Sinai. So Aaron should have known the Isser of what he was getting involved in, the fact that he was going to cause these Isurim on the Yidden b'tzarechim, because and therefore we end with a question that even though he came with all of these defenses and Aaron, Sai al pi Tzutz Mikra, Sai al pi Halacha, Sai when it came to Lifnei Iver, it still comes out that Aaron had done something that he shouldn't. And Taka Shaila, he comes to Aaron with his tzidkis and with his kedusha, to even if it's a shemetz to shemetz, still there was some connection that he had to it, and therefore that ends with a tzarech iyun. So this is the end of the next section of the Sikha in the defense of Aaron HaKohen and his involvement in Avodah Zarah. Finally, we come to Yeina Shel Torah, the Chassidus and the Hira on this Rashi, and it's actually a very, very Geshmaka Hira here. You'll see how many details in the Rashi actually are consistent with the Hira as the Rebbe brings it here in the Sikha. Eis Yud. Minyanim the Yeina Shel Torah Rashi Dilon. From the areas of Yeina Shel Torah in this Rashi. Before becoming the famous, Shemitzias Achet v'Kolshkein Chet Godel Kaved Zara, Bamizeh Shvedakos Tadakos Yeshnimakar Al Zabik Dusha. The possibility of a sin, especially a major sin like Kaved Zara, comes from the fact that the Tadakos, in a most refined level, this exists even in Kedusha. In other words, the Mashal it says that Sheker Ein Le'Raglayim. Something that's total klipa has no foundation. It's not going to last. Something that's only klipa, that's only has no kedusha in it whatsoever, has no source to it, has no foundation to it, and therefore has no sense of sustenance. So if there is an existence of a chet, it needs to receive its chayis or its origin from a very, very refined version, but it exists in Kedusha. So what is the makir of in Kedusha on the chet, on the sin of Avodah Zarah, which is pirud me'achtos Hashem, separation from the oneness of Hashem, for the fact that division exists in Torah. The idea that in Torah there could be a division, there could be a difference in opinion, there could be two ways of understanding something, so there's a ischalkus in Torah. This leads in the long term, it leads to Avodah Zarah. The fact that you can explain something in Torah in two ways, so much so that we say that there's 70 ways to explain something in Torah. In the writings of the Rizal, it says that there's 600,000 explanations on every inyan in Torah, corresponding to the 600,000 neshamis. This leads to the possibility that there would be a separation from the oneness of Hashem, which is Avodah Zarah. This isn't implying that Torah itself creates a possibility that should lead to separating oneself from Hashem, which was Avodah Zarah. The Torah is the will and the wisdom of Hashem, and the Torah and the Eibishter is one thing, and the Eibishter is one thing with his Chachma. Just like the Eibishter is a simple oneness, indivisible, so to every element, every aspect of Torah is one pure oneness. Since there are various explanations in Torah which really are part of the oneness of Torah, but This creates a possibility that the person who learns Torah, to lean, to turn away during learning from the feeling of the internalizing, the simple oneness of Torah, and feel some type of division and separation. And this, after many, many, many layers, can devolve to the sin of Avodah Zarah. We find this example to this. Al Pasuk Nasa Adam. When it says Nasa Adam, it's Almeinu Kidmasenu. Let us make man in our image, in our form. So it says Nasa Lashon Rabbi. So Nasa could imply that there's a few creators. We are creating. So the Medrash says, Kivan Shegiya Meisha LaPasuk Hazeh, Meisha came to this Pasuk, Aman Lefan of Rebbeinu Eilabim. Ma'ata Nesin Pischin Per Leminim Esma. Why are you leaving an opening to the apikurim, to the heretics? You're leaving an opening to the heretics that they're going to say that there is more than one God. The fact that Torah writes plural, multitudes when it comes to, and therefore divisible when it comes to the gods. This opens up the possibility that one can make a mistake and say that there are two rulers to the world, which is Avodah Zarah. So this is the example of where you see that in Torah there is a possibility to lead to the concept of Avodah Zarah. This Maimon Azal itself emphasizes that it's not the Torah itself that is creating this ability, this possibility for this error. The mistake comes because the person is looking for it. He wants to make the mistake. If the intention of this Maimer Chazal was, as it might seem, that the Eibishter is saying write it anyway, because even though it's possible that someone will make a mistake, nevertheless I'm not worried about it. There's nothing to be worried about. What does it mean if he wants to make the mistake? He wants to emphasize that this mistake is impossible, that it comes from the Torah itself, only because there is within the person the will, the readiness to make this mistake. So what we said up until here in Eis Yud is that even though the Torah itself is Achdus Apshuta, is the expression of the Eibishter's pure oneness, nevertheless, the fact that it's possible that the fact that there are more than one pirush in Torah, the fact that there's many ways to understand the pasuk, this could create within the learner, within the person learning, could create a possibility that he realizes, he sees the division, and that could, through many, many layers and devolvements, lead to Avodah Zarah. And this is what Rashi is being meramis when he says this pasuk could be explained in two ways. The possibility for Pirud in Avodah Zarah. It comes from the fact that this inyan in Torah is possible to be explained in two ways. Rashi doesn't say this has two faces, two ways to understand it. In and of itself, inherently, it has no room for period, for division. Even though there are two ways to understand it, it's one panim, it's one face. Since the person learning could explain it, could interpret it in his comprehension in two ways, and to turn away from the pure oneness of Torah, Meaning to say, in Torah itself, you could have 600,000 Pirushim, and it's one thing. It's all part of one etzem. But in the person who's learning it, he can be metargim these two different explanations as two different things, and therefore it could lead chas v'shalom for a person to turn away from the oneness of Torah. And when he turns away from oneness of Torah, this could lead in the extreme way, it could lead to Avodah Zarah. V'al-pi zeh yumtek shinui gimel al-deshenis ha-meshamshish lepirusham shel beis pirusham v'siduram bepirush Rashi. This will also make it gishmak. The fact that Rashi uses three different lashonos to express the fact that there's two pirushim in this Rashi and in the next Rashis, and also the order that Rashi uses it in. The Piska Zu Kesav Yeshatarga and Vishnei Panim. In this Rashi that we're learning today, that we're learning here on the words the Yotzerei Sebacheret, Rashi says Yesh Latarga and Vishnei Panim. The Piska Shlachara, the next one, Vayaseh Egel Masecha Shegam Bayashnem Bepirushim, which also has two pirushim, Nemar V'Yesh Eimnim, and those who say. Piska Shlishis on the third Rashi, which is the word Masecha, Rashi brings two pirushim, and the sense says Davar Acher. He says the second one is Davar Acher. Ki behem rumors say that Ayirida Abba Des Chalkos Apirud. This Rashi is being merames. He's hinting to the order, the devolvement that comes through the Chalkos Apirud, through seeing in Torah the division and separation. It starts out that a person could interpret it in two ways. The person does not truly comprehend the concept of Achdus, of the oneness of Torah, and he interprets it in two ways. This leads to the next level. Becomes Yesh Eimrim. Nigish le Yesh Eimer. He feels himself, he's a yesh, he's a mitzias, that he's a someone, or something that says, until it evolves and he becomes a totally separate entity from Elokus, davar acher, something else entirely, which that's Avodah Zarah. This is also hinted within the two pirushim in Rashi. After saying that you can explain it in two ways, which we just explained to mean that this is a person seeing his chalkus of pirud and teira. The first pirush is that he tied the gold in a handkerchief. This would imply that the person that has gold, that has things, he puts it into its own handkerchief, he puts it into its own thing, he recognizes it as something important. He thinks that it is my strength and the power of my hand that has amassed me this wealth. Which is similar to the Yesh Eimrim. He thinks of himself that I can accomplish things. I have money. I'm putting it in my own little kerchief to imply that it's my money. I made it. I did it. Then all of a sudden there's a Yesh over here. The second pirush is that he actually drew the image of a calf that he considers himself something entirely removed from the Eibishter, that he's already drawing images into the gold, implying that he's like a davar acher, implying like something else entirely. Where does this all come from? The lack of Kabbalas El. If a person has his Kabbalas El, his acceptance of the yoke of heaven, his acceptance of the Eibishter as his Eibishter properly, then with Kabbalas El, you're also able to comprehend and feel the oneness of Torah. But if you're lacking in Kabbalas oil, then all of a sudden it's not about the Eibishter, it's not about Torah, it's about you, and this leads to many different. This leads to the various levels that ultimately Avodah Zarah. And this is also hinted to in Rashi, in the Rashi before the Rashi that we learned today. Rashi hints this in the Rashi beforehand. Our Rashi, which said that it could be explained in two ways. Vayisporku lashon prikas masa. Rashi says that they took off the nizmi azav, the jewelry that they had. Rashi says it comes from the words of unloading a load. That they unloaded their jewelry. So this is a hint. They consider Torah mitzvahs to be a load, a burden. And therefore they unload themselves of this burden. Basically, prikas oil, not having Kabbalas oil. This leads to the person interpreting Torah in two ways, which is basically noticing the chiluk and the period in Torah, the division and separation in Torah. And this leads to the other yididis of becoming a yesh and ultimately becoming a davar acher. But if the emunah and Kabbalas oil is in a complete sense, this doesn't even bring to the whole thing. You don't even begin with it. There's no prikas oil, and therefore there's no tirgun b'shnei panim. There's no looking at it in two ways. There's no noticing the period in the chalkos and Torah, and therefore there's no avodah zarah. And therefore we take a find that the women and the children did not give gold to the egel. Because by them the emunah is in full strength. Therefore there was no room for the avodah zarah. We'll move on. This helps us understand that when we strengthen our emunah, when we strengthen our Kabbalas oil, which in both of these levels, both in emunah and in Kabbalas oil, there's no separation, no division in elokus, godliness. This strengthens our feeling of Achdus Hashem in all areas. And then even learning Torah, something that has many different many explanations. That even in this chalkos, even in this division of many different perushim, what he detects, what he feels, what he understands, what he comprehends, what he's able to experience is the achdus hapshuta, the oneness of Hashem in the chalkos, because it's coming from emunah and Kabbalas oil, and not chas v'shalom from anything else. So of course, the takeaway, I guess, is to strengthen our Kabbalas oil, to strengthen our emunah, so that in everything that we experience, what we should see is achdus hapshuta, and then we are able to, even when we learn Torah, we're able to experience the achdus of Torah and the achdus Hashem, and never slip to the levels beneath that.